want to be in pictures. You're
1, 2, 3.
I heard a premature open over there.
I might have jumped the gun.
Taylor, do you struggle with premature can opening?
Yeah,
Yeah,
I'm not ashamed.
I noticed that it sort of...
I get excited.
I don't blame you. You know what? I'm sure our listeners are excited too.
Oh, good.
I'm sure our sponsor would very much appreciate this conversation.
You know what's funny? Speaking of our sponsor and our listeners, I recently bumped into an old friend I hadn't spoke to in a long time, and the first thing he brought up was the Talkies. He's like, I've been watching the Talkies. And then this is what he did. He goes, I've been watching the Talkies. And then he goes like this. like this is like the...
This is our trademark?
Yeah. That's like the symbol for the Talkies.
Guys know the Talkies?
You know, these guys. Just means no one's made it past our sponsor moments.
That's all right.
I guess.
That's okay.
We
It's the best
occasionally
part of
talk
the
about
episode.
movies also.
Yeah. All right, so quick sponsor recognition. We are brought to you by organic brand Guayaki Yerba Mate.
Indeed.
Powering up your good friends here at Carmen Line now for many, many years. I personally got both of these guys hooked on Yerba Mate about 5 years ago on a film shoot. And since then, we have been unstoppable forces of art and nature.
A tour de
and
force.
Science and faith.
A tour de force.
A tour de force. Is that a bike race? What is that?
That's the tour de force. You've never been there before.
Speaking of tour de force, we saw a movie today.
We did see a movie, and it's going to probably get ugly, so I was just going to ease into that.
Oh, okay. I'm ready to jump
You're
into
ready,
it.
huh?
Yeah.
Just jump in, man.
Well, do we have any other news to cover with regards to the show or our other materials before we begin?
First time that I'm wearing glasses today.
That should be
That's a big
acknowledged. D has been walking into things for months now, and thankfully, he finally got some glasses.
I did.
It's wonderful.
And you know what?
Yeah.
You look stunning.
Yeah, now that I can see, my camera shots have become worse.
Oh,
Yeah, so I'm actually a worse cinematographer.
you have to like relearn it.
Yeah, you're like that sniper who can only hit things when he's drunk.
That's it.
Wow, what a curse.
I know, it's bad.
Yeah.
Oh,
Well, speaking of bad,
Speaking of bad,
today
this movie.
today we went to the cinema and caught Winchester.
yeah, we did.
Winchester.
Film inspired by the true-ish story of the Winchester Mansion, which is near Santa Cruz.
Yeah.
I had never heard of the Winchester House until I moved up here from LA to the Sacramento area, because every third car in Sacramento has a Winchester Mystery House bumper sticker.
Yeah.
So I'm like, what is this thing? And I still haven't made it out there, but many people I know have and have told me all about it. You've been there.
Yeah, I've been there. Santa Cruz, it's not as cool as they say it is. Like, it was kind of funny because in the movie they actually pointed out some things that they actually say in the tour.
Yeah.
Oh, really?
And like the girl says it to the guy.
Just the same, like that was a tour guide.
Yeah, it was a little weird.
That's even stranger.
Yeah. I do want to bring up that point, but anyway, yeah, I have been there and it's not scary. They actually have a Halloween tours there where you could go. You go with flashlights and all the lights are turned
cool.
off and people pop out and
Spooky.
Yeah, it's interesting.
Okay.
I always liked like when I saw the trailer for this, I thought, well, my first thought was, well, it is a horror movie, so it'll probably be bad. But then the concept of this giant mansion that has all these nonsense, like the nonsensical development of it, and like doors that lead nowhere,
and stairways up to the ceiling.
Weird stuff like that. That's a cool setting for a
Right,
horror
and that's
movie.
kind of what I was expecting,
Yeah.
was that the house would be the main character.
Yeah.
And it really faded to the background quickly.
Very fast.
Quickly.
It just became another generic.
like just
haunted
this
house.
insanely designed house driving the mania, the insanity going on inside.
Yeah.
They did not go that direction at all.
Nope.
Horror movies and I think comedies are very similar in many ways.
How so?
Well, I could probably go on a long time about the more detailed ways they're similar, but on the broad sense, it's that most are bad. And filmmakers and storytellers, I think, are often drawn to both those genres because they're easy.
I could see that.
As far as archetypes and templates.
Right.
There's so many comedies that are all the same movie.
Right.
And there are so many, even more horror movies that are the same. And even they have a very short book of tricks that they all pull from, right? And so I tend to expect that when I'm going to see a horror movie or a comedy, my expectations are almost always very low. And thus, when a good comedy or a good horror movie comes along, it's extremely refreshing.
Yeah.
Like Get Out.
Right.
Yes, Get Out was fantastic.
Which melds both of those genres.
Both of those, yeah.
Yeah. And when you got right down to it, it wasn't really horror at all.
Not really.
Really.
No.
Unless you want to talk about the horror of creepy racists.
Yeah. Well, there's some horror aspects to it and moments that are definitely super nightmarish.
Right.
Spooky stuff.
Man.
But now we're talking about Get Out.
I don't know if do you need supernatural to actually be horror? Where is that line? Because you're gonna go, if it's devoid of the supernatural, then you kind of say, oh, it's a thriller.
Well, so
is it fear that makes it a horror?
I think it's how it's presented.
Right, how it's presented.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's weird. I've never even
more of an aesthetic.
I never really noticed that most horror movies have to deal with supernatural stuff.
And you see,
whether it's real or not.
Right.
Maybe it's perceived and proved to be fake in the end.
Right.
I don't really consider The Sixth Sense to be much of a horror movie.
And it does have supernatural.
Yeah, and it's very supernatural.
Interesting.
Heavy.
Anyway, so this is our non-spoiler part.
Right, yeah.
Let's get into what we thought about
Well, there's one more announcement to make.
Oh, yeah.
So we're changing the format of the show. We will now remain spoiler-free for the first segment. Then we will issue a nice big spoiler warning about halfway through to let you know we're now going to dive into the deeper details of the story.
Yeah.
But for now, we'll begin by just giving our general reactions to the movie, things they got right and wrong, and then we'll get more spoilish a little later.
Can you do a quick read of the synopsis?
I will do. It's right in front of me.
Sweet.
It'll be very quick. It's quite short. Eccentric firearm heiress believes she is haunted by the souls of people killed by the Winchester repeating rifle. Now, talk about spoilers. That synopsis actually gives away a big part of the plot that's not in the trailer, which is funny. But that's what it's about. Directed by Michael and Peter Spierig. Spierig?
Yeah, and they were credited as the Spierig brothers.
Yes, I always dig that when I see guys who do that, because I always imagine those guys are having a lot of fun.
Probably, yeah. That's amazing.
So, let's see. They did a film called Daybreakers.
I think I've heard
which is
about
that's a web series, isn't it?
A very cool take on vampires.
Oh, that's not a web series. Okay.
No, yeah, it was actually quite good. It had Sam Neill in it.
I remember it.
I actually liked it a lot. Something called Undead in 2003, and then last year they directed Jigsaw.
Oh,
really? The famed origin film of the Saw franchise.
Ooh.
The last film of the franchise.
The last film.
You could only hope.
Yeah.
I doubt that.
It won't be. 20 years they'll reboot it.
But anyways, they're pretty firmly
It'll be called Jig.
Jig.
Not necessarily so much in horror, but certainly terror.
The jig is up.
And of note in this movie is none other than the great Helen Mirren.
Right. So
which I found puzzling and was honestly probably my biggest draw to the movie.
Yeah.
Because in my mind, I feel like this script must have had something quite special in it to attract a Helen Mirren.
Yeah.
You know?
Right.
It's like if you saw that the next Blumhouse horror was headlined by Daniel Day-Lewis.
Right. You'd be like, whoa.
Okay, I'm actually going to give that a chance because it must be special. why else would Daniel Day-Lewis agree to this movie? Now, after seeing the film, that was one of my main questions. Why on earth did Helen Mirren decide she wanted to make this movie?
Yeah.
I can't honestly think of any other reason other than just a quick buck.
It seemed way beneath her.
Yeah, just she wanted a quick paycheck or something.
I-
You mentioned the script,
Mm-hmm.
and I'd have to say that the script is probably the worst thing
culprit.
about this film. Yeah.
I'd say so. The performances weren't necessarily bad. They were
Nah,
fine
they were all right,
for what
you know.
they were given. Okay, so let's get to the bottom line right away. To me, this was a horrible movie.
It's
Yeah.
not good.
And it was the worst kind of horrible movie.
Yes.
Yeah.
Because, like, I can tell you right now, Pacific Rim 2 is probably going to be a horrible, horrible movie. But I also think we'll have a good time watching it.
Yes.
We'll probably
Right.
laugh at it.
Yeah.
We'll probably have tons of inside jokes after the movie. I don't mind a movie that is that kind of horrible.
Right.
Right.
This kind of horrible movie, you just leave feeling like I've wasted my time.
Yep.
My first
Absolutely.
words after coming out was that was about 14 packs of cigarettes. Now, a reminder of my cigarette rating system. I read cigarettes because I saw this statistic that said like every pack of cigarettes takes off something like 7 minutes of your lifespan. And, I don't even know if that's true or not, but as 7 minutes of bad film goes by, and I'm like, that was a whole pack of cigarettes. I just smoked a whole pack of cigarettes. And when I see just a terrible movie, I walk out just thinking, like, I'm going to drop dead of lung cancer. Like, this was a huge waste of my life. And so I'm just sat and smoked watching this movie.
What we're saying is that the movie is easily forgettable.
Yeah.
It's the mediocre type of film where it has good production value,
Right.
but it does not hit what it needs to hit, and it's not so bad that you can laugh at it. It
Right.
just sits in that mediocre, gross middle where you're just like
I've never been so unengaged from a movie
I
in a
felt like
long
falling asleep.
time. I almost did fall asleep a couple times. I was
Yeah.
like, I
yeah,
guess
my-
I gotta watch.
My mind drifted too.
Yeah.
Here's the
I was
thing,
like looking at the
this is where
theater ceiling.
I was really left questioning the skill set of the people behind the movie.
Yeah.
Which I try not to do because I tend to give people the benefit of the doubt, right? I'm a filmmaker who's been trying to make movies for a decade, and here these guys have some, gigantic budget and are making a Hollywood film. So give them the benefit of doubt.
Sure.
They probably have.
Did
They kinda
something
know what-
cool.
they
They
should
probably
know what
know
they're doing.
things,
Yeah.
right? They should know things that I don't know.
Right.
I hope. But they couldn't pull off a simple jump scare.
No.
Like, that's the base level. That's the basement for horror movies. Bad horror movies can typically get that one thing right and sell a lot of tickets. But there was only one jump scare in the
And
movie.
I know which one you're talking about.
Only
yeah.
one that made my heart flutter a little. Every single other one was so broadcasted or just missed. Like, the timing was just off. Like,
Yeah.
Yeah.
there was one oh no, that's a spoiler, so I won't
Yeah.
say it. But yeah, the jump scares. If you can't make the jump scares work,
They felt like B movie jump scares, like the things that, you go, hey, director, can you make a horror movie? He goes, yeah, and he thinks of a jump scare. That was what was in this movie. It was that
right?
several times.
But and jump scares are great when used appropriately,
Right.
But it's not your go-to. The go-to, the point is you want to create psychological terror.
Yeah, you want to
Yeah.
make an atmosphere.
You want to make a fear that's dwelling
Tension.
inside of you and growing throughout the movie,
Yeah.
and you're just begging for a release for it to go away. Not those boo, gotcha,
And even then, like you said, it was broadcasted.
Yeah.
Like
Always.
It was like this.
You're just waiting.
Oh, it's gonna come, and then it comes.
Yeah,
it's
yeah.
like,
So
oh.
that's not scary.
Yeah.
So if shot correctly, a monster popping out from under a bed can be truly terrifying, right? It can be done really well. But what's more terrifying is if the filmmaker is able to make you feel like that same monster's under your seat in
Yeah.
the theater.
Yeah.
And after the first jump scare that happens in the film, I was really left wondering, like, how you could be in charge of a film. You're in charge of making this movie, and you think to yourself, you know what? I'm gonna make this happen, and not have any kind of question of like, am I maybe making something that's just too obviously, like you're saying, projected, or anything like that. Like, I don't know how you could be unaware of that, or at least not care that it's projected, or if maybe on set, it like the idea behind it was like super awesome, but maybe the way they shot it, or maybe the way they cut it, just totally tarnished it. But like, I don't understand how a filmmaker can even do that.
Like you said, Kenny, and like doubting the skill level of the guys who made the film. Like, this looks like a pretty epic student film. You know? There's some good stuff in here, and that's what makes it so bad. Is that there are good things that don't do anything. You know,
there's
like,
horror movie tropes that I don't really like, because you're just relying on something that really you're relying on terror from previous movie experiences. So one of those is the pale-faced creepy child who will point at things and speak in a weird way because they're possessed, or they're communicating with the ghost, or the ghost is talking to them through the TV. They have a ghost next to their bed at night that whispers to them, right? We've seen this in dozens.
And they sing.
Yes.
Let's leave some of that for the spoiler part.
Right. But I almost just felt like you just went out to find a ginger-haired, pale-faced little boy because you thought it would up the creepy factor.
See, now that's actually... Go ahead.
I just want to say the parents of ginger-faced little pale children object.
As a person.
Yeah.
I have two pale-faced gingers. I may use them in a horror movie someday.
Will they be singing?
Easy fear. It's easy fear making.
If they're singing and they have glazed over eyes. And
and they just point at things.
I did have a comment on actually M. Night Shyamalan, but I'm not going to talk about it. Let's not talk about it. Let's move along.
We can't help but not bring up. We just have to, he comes up in every one of the ghost of Shyamalan is with us. He's still alive, by the way.
The cinematography in the film was pretty good.
It was very serviceable.
It serviced well. It wasn't. There was nothing to comment about it.
Well, there's one comment.
Well, what was the comment?
There were a few points where they used vignette with no point at all.
That was weird.
I didn't notice that.
They even did a conversational two-camera setup where you have one camera on the male lead, I forget his name, the doctor, and Helen Mirren's character. Price?
Yeah.
Dr. Price and Mrs. Winchester.
Yeah, sure.
And the camera on Mrs. Winchester had vignette around the corners of the screen. And they did that several times throughout the movie, and I don't know if they were trying to do some subconscious trick, like she has the spirit aura or something.
Yeah, it was weird.
But it was the point was the two cameras were in the same place at the same time. You can't act like there's... I mean, you just added two other people into the room by doing that.
Right.
You know?
This is my first time watching a movie with these glasses on, and I kept going...
You thought you had smudges on your lenses.
No.
And they brought that in a few times, and there's a place for that. For example, one of the times they did that was, that's for the spoiler section. All right, ask me in the spoiler section. I'll tell you the first time they did that. But there was no bad camera work, but there were choices like that where I was like, whoa,
why?
I don't get it. Why would they do that?
There was even some weird perspective shifting where they shot really wide conversational pieces, which is cinematic. It's really nice to have a wide field of view and have a person on the right third of the screen or something like that. But then they go to the two-shot, and the two-shot, they're super close together. And it's it makes no sense.
That's strange.
Yeah, it's a really weird... The editing in this film was bad.
Yes, it was.
They had bad editing.
Yes. The pacing was so strange.
Yeah.
Especially for pretty much all the jump cuts, I feel like were ruined by editing.
Yes, one of them especially was a disaster.
Yeah.
And we'll get to that. But I thought that this would be a fast-paced movie because of its running time. You know, I saw there was obviously a lot of story to tell based on the trailer and the synopsis. You're like, wow, there's a lot there. This is going to be complex.
Yeah.
And it was.
It was complex.
A little too complex. And it's an hour and a half. So I'm like, this thing is going to move.
That's funny.
But
It felt
did
like 2.5 hours.
It dragged very slowly.
Yeah.
And not in a way that builds tension.
No.
See, like to go back to praise Blade Runner a little more, that movie's close to 3 hours and feels like
Flew by.
a
Feels like
solid
90 minutes.
Yeah,
Yep.
solid.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Hour and a half, 2 hours. But the worst thing ever is when a movie is an hour and a half and feels like 2+ hours.
Right.
That is the worst.
Right.
Hate it.
Yeah.
And this movie is that.
Yeah. This has no rewatchable value. It was not scary at any moments.
No, not at all.
It was not entertaining. You know, you'd hope, if it's not scary, maybe at least be interesting.
It wasn't interesting.
I mean, you'd hope that you'd come out of this being like, I want to know more about the Winchester house. I want to go see it.
Right.
And be there.
Right.
Because it's real. Like,
Right.
you can
Right.
actually go
You
to
can
the
actually go
location.
there.
And we
Yeah.
can drive there today. It's not far from here. But I'm not in the least bit interested.
Just
It
don't care.
didn't do that.
Right.
You know?
Yeah.
And it's like, holy cow. I mean, that's like the centerpiece of this movie is this real place and a real story. And they let the place become scenery.
Yeah, they
scenery.
abandon it completely. It just becomes a normal haunted house.
Yeah.
You know?
Exactly.
And I think that happens when the creators, whether that be the director or the writer, that happens, in my opinion anyway, when the creator is too close to the original story, to the source content. I think the creator of the story brought into this his connection to the Winchester house and the
Maybe.
Winchester story.
Yeah.
And projects that onto the audience and expects that many things on the screen are going to mean something to us when they really don't. It's just a house.
I have some things about that. Should we say that this is the end of our spoiler?
Should we do like a quick spoiler-free wrap-up recommendation?
I think that's a fine thing. Why don't we each go around and give the final spoiler-free thought, and then we'll move into the spoiler-filled section.
All right.
You want to go first?
Yeah. I can't recommend this movie to anybody, even if you're just a fan of horror. I honestly could not recommend it to you.
Oh, it might be worse if you're a fan of horror.
Yeah. And I always feel bad when I have this little regard for a movie, because like I know the people who made it probably were, I hope, were into it and interested in it and passionate, but it was just a bad movie, man. So
You do feel
don't see it.
because like
You do,
We
yeah.
we hated all over The Last Jedi.
Yeah.
Right? We had we were pretty negative on The Last Jedi.
Yes.
But none of us feel sorry for them. They made $1 billion.
Right.
And everyone was happy to be involved. They don't care if it caused controversy because
Yeah, they're
it's
just
Star
going for it.
Wars, right?
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah, it's a moneymaker.
Yeah. But, you know, this movie's probably just going to be universally recognized as a failure.
Yeah. And totally forgotten.
And in a very real sense, anytime you actually succeed in making a movie and getting it to the cinemas, no one understands how gigantic of a success that is.
That's
Yeah,
hard.
That's
yeah,
why
it's a
it's
hard
sad.
thing, right?
That's why it's so sad
Yeah.
when a movie misses the mark like
Yeah.
this. Go ahead, D.
I mean, even if you're a fan of the location, I still wouldn't say. I'd say skip it. I'd say go to the location.
Yeah.
You know, you might have a scarier time there actually. It's what's the word? Unremarkable.
Mm-hmm.
It's unremarkable.
It thoroughly frustrated me watching this movie. And in fact, it was a sort of a combined experience. The broader experience of this whole movie experience really drove something home to me that has me very concerned and worried. Because we went to a movie theater, and yes, I admit it was a matinee. So you don't get big crowds at matinees. But here's this movie theater, which, by the way, has been completely renovated as a response to this lack of interest in cinemas that's been going on for the last 10 years. If you haven't tuned into this before, newsflash, people have been running away from the cinema for a decade now. and they've been trying anything to get people to come back.
Yeah.
So many cinemas have converted everything to nice plush seats and a better experience. That's one of these theaters. In doing that, by the way, they cut out half their seats, maybe more in some cases.
Yeah, where you actually have to pick out your seat now.
Right.
So there's already not very many seats in this theater, and most of them were empty. So that's the setting. The trailers we saw were so bad. All of them. Mm-hmm. There was not a single trailer that was a movie I'm like, I want to go see this movie. And these are movies that are all going to be coming out throughout what's traditionally the hot time for movies.
Traditionally,
Late spring and summer.
Yeah, we have to talk about that later.
But it makes me worried that cinema really is dying. And that makes me very sad. And it's not being, it's like, as interest goes down, the quality is going to go down with it, because all the quality craftsmanship is going to move to where the interest is, right? Which right now it's in streaming services, and it's in big episodics, right? Big budget episodic 10-hour movies. So the crappy content is going to keep going to cinemas, and it's just going to get worse and worse.
This really killed your faith.
I felt so a motif in this film, and this isn't too much of a spoiler because it's in the trailer, but it's the number 13, and they seal in the ghosts by putting 13 nails in a door to seal them in. And one of my first responses after walking out of that theater was, I want to put 13 nails in my brain right now, because I was just so. It was like a demoralizing experience. I'm just like, and like earlier this week we mapped out our whole year of Talkies episodes based on the movie release calendar, and there's a couple long streaks in there of movies we're not crazy about seeing. Like, there's some dead seasons coming up this year where what's in the cinema looks pretty bleak. And this movie made me not happy about what we're going to be doing.
Also, because this one's like one of the more interesting subjects, right?
Yeah.
We look at our...
should have been.
I thought it might be a good movie. I really did. But it's not. It's not. And on that happy note, I think we're going to wrap up our spoiler-free segment.
Yeah.
So if you'd like to continue listening to us, we'll put in just some kind of visual audio cue to signify that we're going into the next segment, right, editors?
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay. Go and watch this movie before we continue, unless you just don't care.
Which you probably
don't. Then you could just keep on listening. The rest of the podcast will contain spoilers. So there's your spoiler warning.
Major spoilers.
For Winchester, the new award darling and Helen Mirren vehicle.
To go ahead and play a little bit of devil's advocate with your sentiment on cinemas dying, I agree and disagree with most of that, in the sense that, because of streaming stuff, I know people who don't want to go to theaters, because why would I when I could just be comfortable at my house and just watch whatever I want for $8 a month or whatever.
It's because cinemas are awesome.
And I get that. Some people are going to be that way, and you can't really do anything about that. I still think, what I think is happening is summer is no longer the time where movies they're putting crap movies then.
Yeah.
All the good movies and the interesting stuff, it's all coming out in the fall, like fall through winter.
Yeah.
And pretty much fall through winter is the new summer, because I had such an insanely hard time trying to just see Jumanji, just trying to see it.
That's true, but I think that actually backs up what I'm saying, because what happens when a piece of, when a movie like Jumanji comes out, everyone loses their collective minds because it's been so long that a movie had come to the cinema that is like a sort of an all family type film that is actually entertaining, that is a big budget style blockbuster, that is good to everybody, right? That just doesn't happen very often anymore. And
Sure.
so when that comes, it's like, everyone go. You know?
Yeah. But I wouldn't go as far as to say that cinema is dying or anything like that.
I didn't say it is. I said I'm afraid it is.
I'm
not afraid that it is.
I'm pretty sure cinema is heading in a different direction than what we think it was.
I agree with that. Yeah.
Well, no, let me put it this way. What the cinema was 10 years ago is dead. Not just dying. It's gone.
Right.
That doesn't exist anymore.
I think that's a given, though, with
Right.
time. It's always going to be changing.
I think
Sure.
so too, yeah.
Sometimes changing is defined as death. That's all.
I think one of these movies brought to light the catalyst. You know, this kind of movie is the thing that speeds this kind of thing up.
Yeah.
I mean, when as Australopithecus evolved towards Cro-Magnon man, there was like a debate where someone said, no, we just changed. And someone else would be like, no, but they're dead. Yeah, there's no more Australopithecus. Oh, no, they changed into Cro-Magnon. Yeah.
Yeah.
The first chicken egg. Is that what we're talking about
Yeah.
now?
Yes.
What was first?
Nope. Okay, so so I have a pretty big
Enters the egg, by the way.
qualm
Yes.
with this movie.
Spoil it away.
Yeah, so the movie, so there was kind of a stupid thing when I went on the tour, right? They closed off a lot of the house. Like, you couldn't see most of it. And it's because...
All the doors were nailed shut.
Yeah,
Because of ghosts.
Yeah, because of all the ghosts. There was that would have been cooler. That would have been a much better attraction. Apparently, there had been tourist vandalization, or vandals and stuff that had messed up a lot of the historic parts of the house.
Really?
So they started closing off. Things until they got to just this main, like, one path through the house type of thing. And it's, you don't see a lot of it. You see maybe 30-40% of the house, maybe not even that much. But watching the movie, it was like, oh, they used the same parts that you see in the tour.
These are all parts that you were in.
Yeah. So when you get the pamphlet and you look through the tour, they talk about, there's 8 different staircases that go straight to the ceiling. There's doors that are too short to open, and there's things that are like doors that open up to other doors. You saw on the tour one of those staircases, and that's the only staircase that they see in this movie. The one staircase that goes up to the ceiling. There's only one in the movie, and that's the one that you see in the tour.
Yeah.
The house. The house.
Well, they couldn't shoot there because it had all been vandalized.
Right. The house is huge, and there's even parts in the tour that they didn't even use in the movie because the rooms are too small. But that's one of the things I think they could have really done well in this movie was
Show more of the house.
well, not only show more of the house, but talk about how, because everything in the movie is almost small scale. They talked about the stairs in the beginning, about how the stairs are so tiny, and when you're walking there, you actually feel weird when you're walking on it because you're like, these are really tiny stairs. Who would even do this? And just because of arthritis, that's the tour guide line that she said. But if they focused more on Helen Mirren's character and talked about why she built the whole house the way, like, she was a weird person in real life. Like, she would like to spy on her workers from, like, windows. She would have windows that peered into ceilings of other places, and they never talked about that.
Yeah.
That's really interesting
That is
stuff.
very interesting.
Yeah.
And Helen Mirren's character was just kind of this crazy lady. Oh, she's
But
not
she
actually
wasn't
crazy.
crazy.
Right.
Yeah.
I think this would have been a far more interesting movie if she had been a bit of a darker character and more paranoid.
Yeah.
Yeah, and like what I wanted to see was the house be more of the main character.
Yes.
Definitely.
And have this paranoid crazy woman who keeps saying there's ghosts, but there actually really aren't. But the doctor drives himself mad trying to disprove that there aren't because of the beguiling house.
That would be infinitely better.
That'd be a good movie.
Yeah.
We should do this.
We should do this. We're gonna shoot this movie.
We should make movies.
You know what? That's a good idea.
We should
I'm
be
down.
Filmmakers.
I'm down. My mom told me about the Winchester house when I was younger, and like she explained like the design of it and
You
stuff.
got hyped, huh?
Well, how she explained it to me, and she explained Mrs. Winchester's motive very differently than what the movie is, and so maybe this is, I don't know if this is my mom just misremembering, but regardless, she said that she made
Go ahead.
Mrs. Winchester designed the house to be confusing and like a labyrinth in order to confuse all the ghosts that were coming to haunt her because of her being a Winchester and all that. But in the film, it's the ghosts are possessing her and designing the house.
Right.
It's one of the stories. There's lots of stories.
Oh, so there's a bunch of different stories.
Yeah, yours is better. I like
Yeah, exactly.
Is it an established fact that she felt guilt over the death caused by the guns?
Yeah, she didn't like being part of the Winchester family craziness, but there's I mean it's a big, they're big rumors about her being paranoid about ghosts and everything. There was never anything real about that.
But she might have believed that she was haunted by those who were killed by Winchester rifles.
Right.
It's a real thing.
Yeah.
Why did they mess it up so bad? They like made it so ridiculous.
The story is extremely convoluted.
Yeah, it's so absurd. And it's not interesting at all.
Yeah, and it looked like they were going to go one way with this doctor who's like a drug addict.
Yeah.
And like
that was interesting,
but
and then it stopped.
Then they turned him into the voice of sobriety.
Right.
Which doesn't make any sense.
What the heck?
So we saw
like he's a drug addict, and they're like established that he's a junkie.
Yeah.
And then they're like, I'm the very logical one who sees things straight.
What?
Like, wait, you're the drug addict.
You're the drug.
That's so weird.
Yeah, like there was a point where he started telling himself that the ghosts he was seeing were withdrawal symptoms from him not taking the stuff anymore, and that was interesting.
Yeah, that was
evolve on that. Keep going on that.
Yeah, but what was not interesting is how many times they said things like that didn't need to be said in. Because you're alone, first of all.
That was hilarious.
There were like so many lines that they said to explain things that we should just see.
He goes. Oh no! It's got to be the withdrawals. It's the withdrawals. It's probably the withdrawals.
Because there's no one in the room.
Who's he talking to?
You are on drugs, aren't you? Like the other example is after the little boy is possessed and tries to shoot Helen Mirren,
which was a pretty cool scene.
That was maybe the best scene of the movie.
That actually made me jump.
Good.
Yeah. It made me
so
jump.
So after that, they put the little boy in the bed. Helen Mirren sits next to him and goes, "This ghost is so powerful, he can control the mind." And I'm like, everyone in the room was there. We were there.
We saw this.
We saw it before you did, twice. There's already been 2 scenes where his mind was controlled by a ghost. And they kept doing that over and over again, where I'm just like, stop writing dialogue. Stop doing it. Stop explaining everything. Another example, in Price's room, there's the mechanism for talking to the other rooms in the house, the holes in the wall.
Yeah.
And he stops to say, "What is this?" And they say, "This is a mechanism where you can speak through these little holes in the wall, and they'll hear you in the other room, and then they can talk back to you." Now, what if you just like barely saw it when he came into the room, and then in the middle of the night, in the middle of the night, he hears the sound coming out,
right.
and we figure out with him what it is. That would have been creepier.
That would have been more engaging.
Yeah, that's actually creepy.
More engaging and creepy. But instead, we waste a whole scene of saying, "This is this device and how it works." And I go, okay, this is obviously going to set up the next spooky moment, which won't be spooky because I already know it's coming.
No, I know.
I wonder if this is like a downfall of like screenplay, like learning screenplay writing.
Maybe screenplay is dying.
Yeah, screenplays are dying. The art of screenplay. Because
this is now called screenplays.
in my screenplay class,
the righties. That's what they call it.
My professor kept always putting emphasis on establish everything, which I get why you would do that, just so you don't establish nothing, you know?
Right.
Yeah. But if you actually take it exactly as, if you take it too far, some stuff is best left unexplained.
That's exactly it. And like we talked about how inference makes things fond, right? You pull the audience attention when things aren't explained fully to them, and not everything needs to be explained.
Can we talk about broadcasting jump scares now?
Yes, let's get to that.
So here's my favorite one. My favorite one was when he's sneaking around the house at night. He doesn't want to be caught out of his room. And so he goes into that little closet under the stairs. You know, the Harry Potter door under the stairs.
Yeah.
So, first of all, he walks through the door backwards. The camera's behind him.
Yeah.
And he walks, like, backwards through the door and closes the door. So he's showing that he doesn't know what's behind him. First of all, no one ever enters rooms that way. No one ever. Like, it's a deep psychological need to know the room you're walking
it's a thing,
into.
Yeah.
You look in front of you before you go through a door, just in case there's no floor there or something, right? So he goes in backwards, so immediately you know there's something behind him, right? Obviously there's something behind him. But this particular jump scare, for some reason, when this ghost or demon showed up, it was lit up red.
Yeah.
Did you notice this?
Actually, the room was lit up red too.
But it wasn't when he went in.
Right.
The ghost turned on red lights.
Yeah.
When it jumped out to scare it, it thought it would be more dramatic and turn on red lights.
Did you get spooked?
But the red light turned on before the scare.
Oh.
Like, red light hit the character, and then they cut to the reverse angle to show the ghost go, ah! And
It was a
holy
crawling
cow,
ghost.
How many movies do we need to see where the main heroine, female hero, when the main heroine is possessed by the ghost and she turns into electronic voice.
And then goes,
And then she calls herself
I will destroy this body!
Like, I don't mind that you use avatars. That's fine. But yeah, the freaking voice...
It's always the same voice.
It's the same
that
voice.
Same computer-modulated voice.
Yeah.
You don't even have to hire a sound engineer to make it anymore. There's a dang filter in like Apple Movie Maker or whatever, Windows Movie Maker.
It's this weird layered voice that sounds very processed, and you're like, I mean,
It was cool the first time 20 years ago.
I was gonna say it's the Exorcist thing where it's the little girl possessed by like a manly voice, and then it's self-deprecating.
Well, but then it works because it's just the man's voice, right?
Yeah,
Satan's voice. It's like you can hear not a dark voice. What's the word? Deep voice. Yeah. You hear a very deep voice inside of a little girl, and that's interesting. It's contrast.
Yeah.
This was like processed and mixed and
this wasn't
weird.
just a poorly executed horror film. It was very sloppy fantasy. And what I mean by that is when you tell a story that's supernatural at all, you have to engineer the rules that govern that universe, right? Why ghosts can enter this world by recreating the room they died in. You know, they started going in that direction of building some explanation for why what's happening is happening. But like, these ghosts seem almost all powerful, with the exception of not being able to pass 13 nails in a door. Other than that, I mean, they could fly, they could throw you around, they could appear and disappear, they could make guns float up into the air, which apparently were loaded?
Yeah.
Right.
Why were all the display guns loaded? He's just got all these guns on the wall that are loaded? Like, when he made all the guns that are display, they're hanging up in a case, float and point at the guy, and I'm like, obviously they're not going to shoot him, because that would suggest they all have bullets in it. Did the ghost walk around and put bullets in all these rifles?
And then, he grabs one and then he shoots it.
Yeah.
Right?
No, see, that's like it's straight out of a freaking 1980s kids cartoon show where you could just pick up a gun and shoot it 1,000 times and never have to reload it because it's a gun.
I also thought it was silly how like the Dr. Price was holding his special gun with his special bullet. And
the special bullet was so dumb.
He saw all these guns start floating up, and he saw the ghost there, and he instead of like just shooting him and not letting him like, you know, take aim at him, he just waits for the ghost to get all of his guns pointed at him and to have a dramatic pause.
At that point.
Right,
but he wanted to shoot him.
Yeah, but there was a good point where he had a lot of time to where he could have shot him but didn't,
Right.
and just waited for the sake of dramatic pausing.
I like how at the sake of dramatic pausing, like you're talking
Yeah.
about, at the end of that, where the ghost is like now pointing the gun at him, and now he's vulnerable.
Yeah.
He doesn't shoot any of the other guns that he's got pointed at him. He just goes, and then gets shot, and then all the guns fall.
And I think this is be another one of those rules of fantasy. If you're a ghost or an alien or a monster, you don't kill with guns. You're a ghost.
I didn't think about that.
You can do.
He picked up glass too.
You see
Yeah.
all the
Shards.
things you can do. You just picked up people like they were rag dolls and just threw them around like nothing.
That was another thing. Yeah.
You got to shoot guns.
Right. They were talking about how, so like the kid was supposed to be possessed by the one ghost that they kept hunting, right? The one
The
ghost.
two other brothers were there too, but they made it really confusing.
Oh, it was
Yeah.
weird. So the kid was supposed to be possessed by one of the brothers, who was then trying to kill Helen Mirren's character, which was weird because he shot her like 3 times
Yeah.
and she didn't die because did he miss?
It didn't look like she was ever shot.
It looked like she was shot. It looked like because she was standing right in front of the kid.
Oh, when the little boy.
Yeah, and the kid
I don't know.
shoots.
They never showed blood.
Right.
I think she dodged him. But then he hit her with the gun.
Yeah, but he shot 3 times very near her.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He
That was
missed.
so
He
weird.
Bad
A-
aim.
Anyway, so we established that the kid is possessed by him because that's the way that they bring harm to people. And then later on in the room, he freaking throws people across the room, kills one of the guys by throwing him.
Yeah. No rhyme or reason.
Yeah, freaking, and it hurts the doctor by throwing bookcases on him. And
Jeez.
By the way, should be said, of course, Helen Mirren is we're all recognizing that she's a fantastic actress. And
Yeah.
is
oh, absolutely. Yeah.
so very skilled.
Yeah.
And deserves better movies than this. Jason Clarke, who plays the doctor, is also I've always enjoyed him. He's been in a lot of movies recently. He was in Dawn of the Planet of the Apes. He was in Terminator Genesis. He played the
I didn't
Connor
see
kid.
Genesis.
Oh, it's
That
good,
movie.
man. Well, no, it's not great. It's actually not that good at all. But and with regards of all Terminator movies post T2,
Yeah.
it's the best.
It's the best. Gotcha.
Dude, he likes the Christian Bale one. Like that
Number
movie.
Yeah.
That movie is
Salvation.
obscenely horrible.
So
Oh
is
my
Genesis.
gosh.
We'll talk. No,
Yeah, that's another.
No,
That's
the
another
truth is we never will.
I want to talk about Terminator movies.
He was in Knight of Cups. Did you see
Ooh,
that?
I don't know
I
what
did
that
see
is.
that.
That was cool. And
He was pretty good in this film. I mean,
Dawn of the Planet of the Apes.
none of the actors were bad.
They just weren't given
Right. They just
good material.
The guy who played Ben, the main villain ghost guy,
that guy.
Oh yeah.
he was in. He played a very large role in the new season of Twin Peaks, and
Oh.
he's amazing in it.
He actually had pretty good screen presence.
Yeah.
Before he revealed himself to be a ghost.
Yeah.
Once he was a ghost, it was over the top.
That was
Yeah,
weird,
it was
yeah.
unfortunate.
But when he was just like posing as a butler, I found
Yeah.
him very captivating. Like he took the screen
He was
away.
yeah,
interesting.
he's
yeah.
got an interesting look.
Well, not and he has presence. Right?
Yeah,
His southern accent was a bit
That
over
was
the
weird.
top.
Yeah.
That was weird. Yeah.
Bit
but like
over
all
the
these
top.
good actors.
I would talk about the jump scares again. So every single horror movie has to have a mirror for some reason.
Well, you can do fun things with mirrors.
So
Someone behind me. He's not behind me. He's in front of me.
yeah, exactly.
That's the one they always
do. So
Exactly the
this
same.
one was one where he keeps twisting it and it keeps going by itself back.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So
that seemed like it was trying so
Why was
hard.
it that every time an
So
object
hard.
moved on its own in this movie, it wasn't creepy at all?
yeah, people didn't care.
Yeah,
I mean, that's always a really good
Oh,
tension builder.
I actually did really like what they did.
Didn't work.
Where they were moving the cabinet or the shutter door, and it turns out it was actually someone moving it from the other side of the
Twice.
house.
Yeah.
They did it again, though.
I know.
hated
No,
that.
I hated that. The first time was
First time
really
was
cool.
a good one.
Let's talk. Actually, let's
See,
talk about this. Let's
that
talk
was
about
actually the one I was going to bring up as my least favorite one.
your least favorite.
Yeah, that first jump scare.
Oh no, I didn't like that as a jump scare.
Oh.
I just thought it was a cool reveal.
Oh,
That's just good storytelling.
Well, it was good. It was good for revealing more about the house.
Yeah.
But that's not what they used it for.
Which, if they had taken it into the direction where you talked about the house as a character, that would have been interesting. But it's not.
Like, he should have kept unraveling clues by finding more weird things in the house.
Yeah. Right.
What is this weird door? I gotta crawl through here. And, oh my gosh, there's another room with this in it.
God, that pissed me off so much. They went back to the same staircase over and over.
Yeah, it's like,
just like, you have so many other staircases.
I thought it was a mansion.
It was, right.
Yeah. I didn't like that jump scare because it's like you see the cabinet moving, everything gets all quiet, and he looks at it for like 20 seconds.
He did go
and
too
he's
long.
like
He goes very
walking
slow
over to it, and then the maid is like, "Oh, hi, sorry, you didn't see me."
Yeah,
he's like, "What?"
Yeah, I don't know who opens the door that way.
Sorry.
That's fair. That's fair.
That is really fair.
A little aggressive.
It was pretty aggressive. The jump scare that worked, I really liked. The one where the guy revealed himself to be a ghost.
That one made me jump.
That was cool.
Yeah, I didn't see that coming.
But it was stupid at the same time because he's like, because they're Winchesters, they will die.
They will die.
Yeah.
He's revenging. He's revenge driven.
Yes. That's revenge rage.
So that was interesting, right? So he revealed himself to be a ghost. Does that mean that he was a ghost the whole time?
Yes, which means we could go back and watch it again and see that he never makes eye contact with the other people in the house because he was a ghost the whole time. He wasn't really there.
That makes it deep.
Wow. Now that's good storytelling.
Who wants to
That's
watch
good
it again?
storytelling. No.
No. No.
I'll watch Pacific Rim 2. Let's do that.
Yes. Yes.
Ugh.
You know what? If you want to see a movie that is exactly like this movie, but the only difference is that it's pretty much in every single aspect, every single way, shape, and form, a million times better. You just need to watch The Shining. That's all you need to do.
That's a good
same thing.
That's a good comparison.
Difference is one's trash and one's a masterpiece.
That's interesting because Winchester, if it was more structured like, or written, there we go, written like The Shining, which, I mean, we're comparing to, I mean,
it's unfair.
It's
mean.
Way unfair. That's mean unfair. Yeah, but yeah, I mean, dude, could you imagine what Stephen King could do with the Winchester?
Yeah,
that'd be amazing.
Yeah,
I agree. I agree.
Amazing.
Or let's take it in a whole nother direction. What could Christopher Nolan do with Winchester?
That would be amazing.
He should do a horror. That would be interesting.
Yeah,
He'd
but it would
do
have
a
to
really
be
big
some
horror.
kind of weird mind-bending thing like a Winchester house.
Yeah,
Right.
he would do very good with it.
Again, like the biggest failed opportunity in this movie is not taking advantage of the freaking title object, which is the house.
Right. Well, that's what was weird about it. That's why it was so interesting because they kept having those. In the trailer, they kept having wide shots of the drone footage of the house.
Yeah.
Where you're just like, oh, we get to see all these different parts of the house, and that's going to be really interesting.
Why is there a drone at the turn of the century?
But it's always the same hallway, the same dining room, the same bedrooms.
Same 5 little locations.
Yeah.
Does it surprise anyone that the little redhead boy's name is Finn O'Prey? Finn O'Prey.
Because he's redhead?
Yeah, his name's Finn O'Prey.
O'Prey.
No hate on Finn. I liked him. I thought he was fine.
Finn was terrible in Star Wars.
Yeah.
No, this Finn. Not Star Wars Finn. His Henry. In this movie, he's Henry. And he was fine.
I noticed some weird stuff with the climax-ish area when...
Which climax?
There was no climax. This was a fail to climax movie.
The scene when...
We've all been there, right? Right?
Doesn't even get me excited.
You know what I'm saying?
None of us hit... Okay, anyway, go ahead.
Oh, I didn't mean like... Never mind.
No, I was going to say hit, what? No.
The scene when Helen Mirren is possessed and she has her stupid robotic demon voice. They kind of do a little bit of what It did when It does its little jig.
Oh, that was cool.
Yeah, they motion track or warp stabilize her face a little bit so it looks kind of strange.
Yeah, and when he was doing the chokehold on her.
Yeah,
it
made it look like... I thought it made it look like her neck was breaking.
Oh, yeah.
That's what they're about. I thought they were going to kill her.
That's what I thought.
And I'm like,
too.
This is a true story?
And I feel like I could tell when... Because they would also cut in... Like, it was the same shot, and then they would cut in closer.
Yeah.
I felt like they were cropping in.
They were.
Yeah, and I could tell.
You could see quality loss.
Yeah, and it was kind of weird. I like the idea of doing the warp stabilizing thing because that looks so strange and it's still kind of fresh. But like, I don't know, like they cropped in and made it feel like a YouTube video all of a sudden.
Water's not wet. That'd be awesome. She's like, water's not wet.
This is a very minor thing, but just bothered me and sort of set me up for being like, okay, this is going to be a bad movie, was the opening title. So I scoffed at it a bit because, when you reveal your opening title, you have no obligation to any production company or union. You have credits for that kind of stuff. You can be as artistic as you want in displaying your opening title. Blow that thing up. Make it fill the whole screen. Last of the Mohicans, most dramatic opening title reveal ever. So this one, they do that. They have a big screen Winchester that comes up in a pretty nice, creepy way. It was fun. Under it, there was small text. Production company limited. Like the producers and the distribution companies were listed in small text under the opening title.
Were they?
Yes. And I went, what? What?
Yeah, the title looked like a logo.
Are you going to do lower thirds every time a new actor comes on screen? Played by Helen Mirren. Look at the camera with Helen Mirren. I thought that was the weirdest choice. I was like, what?
Did they motion track the title in?
I don't know.
Yeah.
Yeah, because it was a descending
the camera
shot,
was
right?
moving, yeah. So, yeah. And it worked. It looked good.
It did look good.
But the subtext, like, why on earth would you have production the 3 production companies were listed at the beginning. It was like Australia Pictures. One was Australian production company, Lionsgate. Mm-hmm. They were all listed under the title, which is just bizarre.
Yeah, weird. On average, it probably takes me about half an hour to know what kind of movie quality I'm watching, but I knew pretty much instantly that this movie was terrible. Like, instantly.
What?
Like, the first scenes. Nothing, like, it's weird because I can't give a specific example.
Yeah.
But just the way everything was cut together, the way the dialogue was delivered, I could just tell. I was like, this movie is gonna suck.
It was the editing for me. And some of the post work. The house is obviously CG in the very beginning.
So bad.
Yeah.
Really bad.
I was like, and then then later when you were like, no, that's the real house.
Right.
I was like, well, then why?
Then why did
they use like a CAD drawing for the opening reveal? Dude. They showed this big wide shot, and I'm just like, well, that looks really bad.
Like we talked. Okay, so we saw that short film, The Third and the Seventh.
Yeah.
Which uses 10 years ago.
Check it out on Vimeo, The Third and the Seventh.
It's amazing.
It's amazing. We
didn't make that, by the way.
They use, spoiler alert for that, they use home software to make that stuff.
Yeah, and it's a film where all the buildings, landscapes, locations, everything, the whole thing is CGI but looks completely photorealistic.
Yeah, it's insane.
And there's a plugin in 3ds Max that you can use for architectural stuff. And there was a lot of people that talked about, who work in the CG field, that the easiest things to do in CG are objects, because there's no motion to them. There's no, the only thing you have to realize is light displacement on bump maps and stuff like that, and reflections. And that's pretty much it. Like, you can make a big fat wooden house look really realistic really easily, and they completely missed the mark.
They just didn't do it. Why do you think that is? Do you think it's because they tried to like over stylize it or something?
They freshened the paint. They made the whole thing blue because the whole thing's red today. Which is also a weird thing. Every single establishing shot was a drone shot. It was the same shot.
Yeah. And
they did day for night conversions on everyone, and it was you can see the reflection of the clouds in the windows as the drone goes over, and you're like, there's clouds. I can see the sunlit clouds at night.
Wow, you spotted that, huh?
Yeah, that was bad.
Jeez,
wow.
That's terrible.
I want to talk about just real quick. Okay, this cinematography stuff.
Classic D.
Yeah, real quick. There was a wide shot that I loved so much in this, and they knew it. There was a shot of the bedroom where Henry and his mom are staying, right? That's his mom, right?
Mm-hmm. Do you mean the shot from up above?
No. So it's a shot from like eye level. They're on the floor, and you can see the bedposts and everything. I really liked that shot because it was super, super wide, and it was really right heavy. You never see that in movies. They don't.
I noticed that nothing was centered in this,
Yeah.
and I wondered if that was the cinematographer trying to give this sense of a weird house,
Maybe.
weird
Interesting.
architecture.
And I think they did later on with some of the weird things that you were talking about, the filters and stuff. But yeah, they had the actors on the far right side, which is really cool. But they used the same shot, the same exact shot, 3 other times in the movie. And I'm like, you guys get over it. Like, do something different. And they didn't. And I'm wondering if it's just because the house was built a certain way, so they could only shoot one way or something.
Maybe that kind of gives away their budget a little bit.
It could be.
Like, maybe this is a film that needed. Well, this is a film that needed a 100% better script.
Oh,
But
yeah.
it also needed more locations than they could probably afford to build. That's why
Well,
there
you know,
maybe been limited.
if Peter Jackson made this movie,
Yeah.
he would have built
The whole
Winchester house,
Yeah.
and cut it in half,
Right.
so that you could film from the outside looking in
Right.
on some giant soundstage in New Zealand.
Right.
That's what he would have done, and that's probably what you needed to actually get the look you want.
Yeah.
Probably.
Yeah.
Probably. There was one of the things also about the rooms was like there was one where he said, "What's that?" And she said, "Oh, that's the ballroom. The whole thing is made of wood. There's no nails or anything like that. Like, that has nothing to do with the story whatsoever." That's an exact tour guide line.
Right?
They're pandering to Winchester fans?
Yes, I
Oh my
guess that's
gosh. Fan service?
They are lowballing.
Yeah. That's some weird stuff. Man.
Right, because that's again like the thing with the holes in the wall, where they were setting up a spooky moment for later.
Yeah.
They didn't need to say that,
They don't.
but now you had one where there was not even a callback to it.
Right.
You didn't need the ballroom reference at all.
Not at all. Just people who've been there go, "Oh yeah," and that was me, and I didn't like it.
Yeah. Okay. So they had some gimmicks worked in for Northern California people.
Right.
Only.
Right.
That's kind of weird.
Super weird.
They made like a suburban San Francisco cityscape, like an exterior that I think was on a soundstage.
Really?
But it looked really cool.
Which one was it?
It looked really cool if it was from a movie from like the 1950s. So when they went to the doctor's house and he's having his like drug-filled orgy
Oh yeah,
in
yeah,
the
yeah.
house, and they show the outside of his house as the guy from the Winchester Arms Company is walking up, and it's like the suburban streets of San Francisco of 100 years ago with gas lamps on the streets and everything, and it's like sunset and everything looked wildly vibrant,
Yeah.
That looked really cool, but the background, which was clearly began only 20 feet into the picture, was a backdrop. It was either a green screen or a painting.
Or a painting.
It looked like a painting,
That's funny.
and it reminded me very much of like the sets for Mary Poppins, those movies.
Where you actually have actual matte paintings
Yeah.
inside your film. That's funny.
Yeah.
I think this is the last thing that I really have to say is just kind of a precursor to what my thoughts were going into the movie. Like, the one red flag I had was that it was rated PG-13. And so even if it was rated R, at least if it was bad, it might have some cool gore or something like that might have some entertainment value to it. But because it was PG-13, it means you can't really do anything like that's entertaining from a horror movie's perspective.
I would say, from a horror movie's perspective, that's, yeah.
And so it just kind
true.
of becomes bland.
It's quite rare. As I said earlier, that how rare it is to have a horror movie that's actually good.
Yeah.
But having a horror movie that's not R and good is
Near impossible.
very rare.
Right. I mean,
there
wait, was
are.
Get Out R?
Get Out was R.
Get
I
Out was
think.
R, but mainly just for language.
Right.
Yeah.
Because like Get Out.
That's a
was
special movie
great.
though. That's like a very unique movie.
Alien, even though it was gory, was not that gory.
But you know
That's
what made,
R, though.
What made
Right, I know.
what made it like palatable to me was probably some of the rated R elements. Was like, whoa, how'd they do that?
Yeah.
You know, that's cool.
Yeah.
Because the rest of the movie was really dumb.
Yeah. So
However, it was infinitely more watchable than this film.
definitely. And so like, and with that, you don't even get that from this. You know, it's
Yeah.
just no, I don't know.
Yeah,
Bad.
there was just nothing there. I don't know. Maybe they're going for the field trip crowd. So many eighth graders go to Winchester House.
Maybe they're gonna do screenings at the Winchester House. And that's
It's like-
that's their business model.
If they were trying to get to people who were, say, of the younger crowd and would find it cool that the house is featured in a film, they wouldn't be able to follow the plot.
Yeah,
The plot was so hard to follow.
it was hard to follow.
This is a weird thing also. The ghosts are people who've been shot with the Winchester rifle, right?
Yeah.
But how come they say build rooms that they died in? If you're gonna get shot, you're not usually shot
In a room?
inside somewhere.
Only these guys were.
Just these 3?
No.
Or just these 8?
This house is haunted by people who were killed inside of a room with a Winchester rifle.
Right.
So the majority of people killed with a Winchester rifle
There's-
don't get to haunt.
There's
their-
also-
They don't get
you
to
know,
haunt.
they
There's
don't get to
also
haunt.
places all over the American West where people come, ghosts come back to haunt the makers of bows and arrows. Because
Oh.
ghosts do place their vengeance in the maker of a weapon.
Yes,
not
not
the
the-
person who killed them.
Yeah, which is a theme that's a theme in the film too.
Like if I was killed with a Louisville Slugger baseball bat by Taylor, I'd
You'd
come
haunt
back
the-
with vengeance against Louisville Slugger,
Right.
not Taylor.
Right. That makes sense.
That was weird. Like that was so bizarre. And it was also weird that they in sort of a half-hearted but still awkwardly obvious way trying to wiggle in like an anti-gun
Yeah,
message.
Oh, yeah, a little bit.
Which I don't. I mean, as a thing, I don't particularly like guns myself, but it just did not fit. It was weird,
it seemed shoehorned.
Yeah, you almost have to go.
Is there a specific part that you guys found?
Mostly
Well-
Helen Mirren's lines about how
Because her
she-
character, like in real life, Mrs. Winchester was totally against the whole idea, from what I understand.
Yeah.
If I don't know if I'm getting that.
Well, I think the idea is cool. I think it is a cool. I actually think it's a cool theme of, like, do you haunt the maker of the weapon or the guy who pulled the trigger? I think the obvious answer is the guy who pulled the trigger.
Right.
But
Seems
but
like a stupid question.
Well,
it's like
Yeah.
it's just like I get where she's coming from, and I think it could have been done a lot better than it was. Like it was kind of just said it was just said for like they felt obligated to say something about it, not because it was necessarily part of the story or
Gotcha.
anything like that.
That's weird.
Yeah.
Weird.
Weird, and bad.
Bad.
Just terrible.
Yeah. Sorry, Helen Mirren. We're fans, but this was a bad choice.
It's not a. This was hard.
Yes, it was.
It was hard to sit through. I don't want to do it again. All right, guys.
Made for a lively discussion.
Let's wrap this up. Let's stick it in a room and hammer 13 nails in the door so it never comes out again.
Except when it does. And then,
Except when
and
it
then
does,
again.
yeah.
Winchester
Again,
2.
Movies that break their own rules, right? They can't come out if you put 13 doors in the door. Except apparently they can.
Except they can.
Because they do.
Oh God.
And then I like the very end shocker with
Another nail pops
is
out.
another nail pops.
That was the worst. That was the worst thing I've ever
I was
seen.
like, oh, how's this movie gonna end? I was
gosh.
like waiting. Maybe the ending will be interesting at least.
Yeah. And now just
And they're like,
pops out.
oh, hey, remember that thing that happened before? It did it again.
Setting up a sequel.
The Winchester 2.
Ugh. Really bad.
Horrible.
Final thoughts.
Terrible.
Good.
Watch The Shining.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, yeah. Dig up, watch The Shining somehow.
Don't watch
Don't
this.
watch this.
Watch The Shining.
Find like some super low budget television documentary on the Winchester house.
Yeah.
And you'll probably have a
There you
better
go.
time and learn more.
There you go.
Absolutely.
You probably will.
Yeah.
Go to the Winchester house.
Go
Yeah.
to the
It's
Winchester
boring, but
house.
it's cooler.
Yeah. We still don't have like a scoring system
We don't
other
need
than
a
my
scoring system.
cigarettes. But none of us like this
Just
movie.
don't watch it.
Yeah. Let's all give our faces for the thumbnail
Thumbnail?
of the video right now, right into the camera. All right, that's it. That's good.
That's a nice portion of the video.
Yeah, we're always quiet.
That's a nice portion of the audio.
Next week, what are we seeing?
We're going over our top 5 most
right.
look forward
Oh,
to.
yeah, next week's interesting,
Next week's
yeah.
a dead week, so we're at the cinema.
A dead week at the cinema, but an interesting week at the Talkies.
Yes.
So we're talking about our top upcoming films.
For the year.
Yeah, not
Right.
not top 10 list of films that came out, but are coming out.
Yeah.
So the
Most look
5
forward
movies
to.
each of us are looking forward to the most and why in 2018. There's a lot we're not looking forward to,
We should
but
talk
there
about
are
those,
some
yeah.
that we're genuinely excited about, and
Oh,
we
yeah.
will break those down here next week. If there's a movie that you're really excited about that you want us to talk about on the show, let us know on Facebook or Twitter. We will read your comment and talk all about it.
Yeah.
In the meantime, check out our other episodes of the Talkies. Check out Confirmed, our cool video game podcast. New episode coming out this week, next week.
Yeah.
Go on the record.
Wednesday.
Whoa, okay, there it is.
I
Wednesday.
did it. I said it.
Okay.
Wednesday it is.
Oh, God damn it.
Regret.
Check out WTF M. Night Shyamalan and be sure to subscribe, follow, and like on every possible way you can.
Yes.
Facebook. We need some more subscribers on YouTube, so head over to our channel if you like what we're doing.
YouTube.
Subscribe.
We have 10 subs. Be the 11th.
Be number
Be
11.
the 11th.
And click that little bell so that you get notifications
Yeah.
from us whenever we post new content.
Call to action.
There's our call to
Click
action.
like and
yeah.
subscribe.
Click
Smash that like
subscribe.
button.
Smash that like button.
Yeah, click right down here.
Link in the description.
Call 1-800 now.
All right, guys. Sorry about all the cigarettes smoked. And let's look forward to hopefully some better movies in 2018. Until next time, I'm Kenny.
I'm D.
I'm Taylor.
And we will see you at the Talkies. Did that hurt?
Yeah, I got knuckle punch.
I got your knuckles.
Ouch.
You ought to be in pictures.
You ought to be in pictures. You're wonderful to see. You ought to be in pictures. Oh, what a hit you would be. Your voice would thrill a nation.